welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be having a look at the puzzle on the screen, which is called Xbox 180 by Zegres. I've just realised I should have looked up whether there is an Xbox 180. I don't know. I've heard of an Xbox 360, but Xbox 180, I don't know. I don't know why. I see why it's called Xbox, at least. There are boxes with X's in them. These are the sorts of logical insights you come to this channel for. I don't understand the 180 bit, but no doubt all will be revealed or not as we get on with the solve. By the way, the testers say this is an absolutely brilliant puzzle, as usual, so we should be in for a treat. Now, I have loads of news to tell you about today. Thank you to those of you who've been tweeting to us that you've received your books. We have it on good authority, i.e. the Chinese distributor, that all of the books have been posted now. So you should all have either received your books or be about to receive your books. We are very sorry it's taken so long. We have been absolutely slammed, basically, by the global shipping crisis, and it has taken us months longer than we expected. You know, the book has been written for, well over 6 months. So anyway, we are finally coming to the end of this journey. We really hope you love the book. We've been absolutely thrilled with the feedback we've had so far from those of you who have got it. It does seem to have all been worthwhile. So that was the first bit of news. The second bit of news is that we have a PO box. Yeah, Mark keeps reminding me to tell you about this. Many of you have asked how you get in contact with us in sort of the real world, and you can now do that. So there's an address underneath this video with a PO box where stuff will reach us. So if you want to send us something, you can. Now, what else? A couple of things on the puzzle front. So Dave Gorman, the British comedian, did a crossword today, which came out in the Independent newspaper, and I have solved it in a video. So I know many of you do enjoy the occasional crossword video, and that should come out on the channel tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning UK time. So check that out if you like your cryptic crosswords. What else? There is a puzzle on Logic Masters Germany at the moment that I want to talk to you about. It's called Inception, and it's by Matt383, which is the pseudonym of Matthias Martinka, who is a fabulous constructor, in fact, and appears in the book as well, I think with 2 or 3 puzzles, all of which are absolutely outstanding. Well, Matthias has produced the most extraordinary puzzle. This is it has a 100% rating on Logic Masters Germany and only 3 stars out of difficulty, and ordinarily I would do it on the channel immediately, but it combines a lot of different rule sets that I know will not be familiar to everybody. So the premise of this puzzle is that is one grid. Look, I'll show you the grid. That's the grid. So one grid, you can see there are some pencil marks into the cells. And you can solve this grid firstly as a Hitori, then as an Akari, then as a Nurikabe, then as a Killer Sudoku, and then as a Star Battle, all from that one grid. It's absolutely bizarre and incredible, but I want to have a go at that, and I want to show you guys my attempt at it, but I'm reluctant to do it in a sort of a main video, because the main video would consist of 15 minutes of me explaining the rules of all of these puzzles. So I will try and do that as a bonus video in the coming days if you guys comment on this video and say you'd like to see it. But I'm certainly planning to have a go at it, so I hope you will want to see it. It certainly sounds incredible, doesn't it? It does sound incredible. Now, the only other thing I wanted to mention is please check out Patreon, please subscribe, please like the video, and also thank you very much to those of you who tweeted this to us. This is an extract from yesterday's New York Times crossword, and it tickled me pink. Look at 70 across, the clue to which is the better of 2 sci-fi franchises. And depending on how you like your coffee, you can see that you can either make Star Trek or Star Wars. And look at the down entries. It's a trap or it's a wrap, depending on whether you like Admiral Akbar, I suppose. 67 down, body part that precedes band. Well, that could be a wrist or a waistband. One's involved in a transaction, payees or payers. and 55 down, let out in a way, well, that could be leaked or it could be leased. I absolutely applaud this. This is the sort of wit that I wish crosswords featured far more often. I don't know who the setter is actually, but whoever it was, kudos to them. That is absolutely brilliant. Right, and that's enough of me rambling on. Let's get on with Xbox 180 by Zegres. And here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. Adjacent digits on a green line must differ by at least 5. So we've got German whispers today. So let's just check everyone's familiar with the arrows and the German whispers rules. In fact, I'll just finish reading the rules first, then we'll do that. Cells separated by a black dot must contain digits in a 1:2 ratio. There's only one black dot, I think. Cells separated by a white dot must contain consecutive digits, and not all possible dots are necessarily given. Right, I'll just quickly run through what all these mean. So, digits on an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow circle. So let's make that a 4 and a 5. 4 plus 5 is 9, so we put 9 in the circle, and then these two cells would also have to sum to 9, so they could be 1 and 8. That would be a legitimate way of filling these arrow cells. Now, what else? We've got the, adjacent digits on green line. So what this means is, let's say this square is at 2. This square has to be at least 5 different from 2. So it has to be a 7, an 8, or a 9. And then this digit, let's say it was a 9, this digit now has, this digit here now has to be 5 away from 9. So that could be 4, 3, or 1. Can't be 2 because the 2 is already there. So that's how German whispers lines work. Those two digits, you've just got to make sure one of the digits is double the other one. That's as simple as that. These two digits, and these two digits have to be consecutive with one another. So if that's a 3, this square would have to be a 2 or a 4. That's the way the white dots work. And the stuff about not all possible dots are necessarily given is just saying it's perfectly possible for these two digits to be consecutive. There doesn't need to be a white dot between consecutive digits in this puzzle. It's just you know for sure that these white dotted dominoes do contain consecutive digits. Now do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And we should probably start. It looks like a noughts and crosses board, this, doesn't it? In fact, it really does look like a nought. We've sort of got noughts in these cells and x's in these cells. And whoever gets to play next will win. So I think, we can start with the German whispers line, because the central cells of these German whisper x's are in fact quite interesting, aren't they? Yeah, okay. So what do we know about German whispers lines? Well, I know two things. The first, in fact these are almost types of secret, aren't they? The first thing I know is you can never put a 5 on a German whispers line, because if you do, you've got big trouble with the next cell. It has to be 5 away from 5, so it's either going to be 10 or higher, or 0 or lower, neither of which work. So you can never put a 5 on a line. But let's think about sort of how the line progresses from whatever you put in this cell. Whatever you put in this cell, this next digit must be at least 5 away. And that applies to this one, and this one. And German whispers lines, they alternate. They alternate. People like me to use polarity to explain this. So if we think about how what I mean by they alternate or they oscillate, if this is a 2, this cell here must be 5 away from 2. And because you can't put 5 on the line, therefore basically you get a high digit here, which is always going to have to be a 6, 7, 8 or 9. In fact, it can't be a 6 here because that's not 5 away from 2, but it always has to basically be a high digit. And then the next digit will have to flip back again to be a low digit again. So you're always going to go low, high along a line. And that's quite important for these middle squares of these boxes, because whatever is in this cell, whether it's a high or a low digit, let's just make it a 7 for the sake of example. In fact, it can't be a 7, but let's make it a 7 anyway and figure out why it can't be a 7. But if this is a 7, we know every adjacent digit now has to be a low digit. So these 4 cells would have to be the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's beautiful, because that means one of these digits has to be a 4. And once one of them is a 4, what do we have to put in this square? You've guessed it, it's got to be 9 because we need a digit that is 5 away from 4. Now, the only other way one of these lines is going to work is if what happens if instead of being high, that middle digit is low? Well, if that middle digit is low, I'll put 2 in, it won't work. But these digits have all now got to be on the high side of 5, so they've got to be a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. One of those digits is a 6. The only digit that can be 5 away from 6 on a German whispers line is a 1. So you're always going to get a 1 in the middle. So these central cells of our, I don't know whether I should have them in purple, it's a bit garish, but these are a 1, 9. These only have the options of being 1s and 9s, and therefore we've got 1, 9 pairs in columns 2, columns 8, rows 2 and row 8. Which means we can't put 1 on any arrow, any straight arrow coming out of the circles. So each of the circles now is at least a 5. If we put 2 plus 3 on the arrow, you'd have to put at least 5 in these squares. So these squares can only be 5, 6, 7s and 8s now. Okay. Hang on a moment. Let me just figure out. Let me just think about this. So, whatever this is will be the same as this. So you're going to have I was just wondering whether there was a diagonal constraint in this puzzle. That would have been really cool if there was, because if there'd been a diagonal constraint, you would have known those 4 digits had to be the same polarity. So they would have formed a quadruple in the diagonal. In fact, that's impossible, because obviously one of these digits is high and one of these digits is low, so that there could never be a diagonal in this puzzle. Anyway, there isn't a diagonal anyway, and that's probably a good thing, because it wouldn't have got through the testers if it had been a dud puzzle. If that was 5, these would have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. Oh, I wonder if all of these have to be different. Why would that be the case? Oh, I wonder. That's an interesting thought. I'm wondering if I can prove that all of these are different, and the only way I can think of doing that is to use set. And I'm just thinking about that in the context of these cells. Because all of those have to be different. So can we do... So if I'm trying to get the circles into sets, I can't see how I'm going to get the ends of these lines into sets as well. That's the problem. Oh no, that does work. No, it does work. Okay, no, we've got something... Yes, okay. What we've got here, I think, is the middle band of the Phistomefel ring, haven't we? Because that's going to pick up all of those cells on the middle band. And that looks very interesting in the context of box. Yes, and then you're going to miss out these digits, and you are going to get the corners. Lovely. Right, this is almost certainly interesting. So let us think about set, which is a geometric trick. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. But I need to... Do I need to get rid of my colouring? I probably do. I'm just going to get rid of my purple colouring just for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some rows and columns. I'm going to highlight all of row 2, all of row 8, all of column 2 and all of column 8, and I will highlight those in blue. Now, those blue cells, if I count these digits twice, because these digits in purple are obviously, they are in row 2 and column 2, so that those 36 digits I've just identified are 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9, because they are 4 complete rows or columns of the grid. And therefore we know exactly what digits those 4 sets, the blue cells contain. They contain 4-digit 1s, 4-digit 2s, 4-digit 3s, all the way through to 4-digit 9s. Now I'm going to highlight a different 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9, and I'm going to tell you that those 2 sets of digits, the blue digits, and I'm going to call them orange digits, must be the same. So I'm going to highlight box 1, box 3, box 7 and box 9. Each box must contain 1 set of the digits 1 to 9, so the orange squares in total are also 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. So the orange cells and the blue cells at this point are exactly the same digits, remembering of course that I have to count these cells twice in the blue set. Now let's consider that digit. That digit's in the blue set and it's in the orange set. So if I was to remove it from the blue set and remove it from the orange set, would that change the conclusion about my blue set and my orange set containing the same digits? Well, obviously it wouldn't. At the moment, each set is exactly the same, and if I throw the same thing out of both sets of digits, it's still going to be the same. So every single cell in this puzzle that has an orange and a blue flash, I'm going to dispose of it from both sets, and I'm going to end up here. Now let's deal with these 4 cells that have the strange colouring. Remember, these sets are twice in the blue set and once in the orange set. So I could remove them once from the orange set and once from the blue set, and there would still remain 1 of this digit in the blue set. In other words, these digits lose their multicolour feature and just become single blue. And this is the expanded version of the Phistomefel ring. So we can just stop here and say the orange digits in this puzzle, in fact any Sudoku puzzle, and the blue digits in any Sudoku puzzle are the identical set of digits. And this must be important because in this puzzle we know exactly what the orange digits are, because we know by virtue of the sort of fact that whatever this digit is the same as this digit by Sudoku. These, let's do this by example. If these are 1s and therefore these are 9s, we know from the whispers lines that the digits adjacent to the 1s must all be high digits. So there's a 6, 7, 8, 9 in this box in orange and a 6, 7, 8, 9 in this box in orange, and vice versa. There's there's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 in this box and a 1, 2, 3, 4 in this box. So the orange digits are exactly equal to 2-digit 1s, 2-digit 2s, 2-digit 3s, 2-digit 4s, no digit 5s, and then 2-digit 6s, 2-digit 7s, 2-digit 8s, and 2-digit 9s. So we actually know exactly what the orange digits are, and therefore we know exactly what the blue digits are. They are also those things. Now, the 2 1s and the 2 9s match up with those cells. So what are we left with? So on the rest of the blue lines, we've got to put 2-digit 2s, 2-digit 3s, 2-digit 4s, 2-digit 6s, 2-digit 7s, and 2-digit 8s, which is 12 digits, and that makes sense because these are indeed, I've just highlighted 12 digits there. So I've got to put this is clever. This is very, very clever. Okay, we actually now know what the circles are. This is brilliant, actually. This is really, really cunning. Why do I think we know what these circle digits are? Well, let's think about what digits we now can't put on the arrow cells. Now, it should be obvious that we can never put an 8 on an arrow now, because if we do, the circle will have to be a 9. And it can't be in any of these positions because all of these arrows see a 9 by virtue of the central cells of these boxes. So you can't put an 8 on an arrow, but you also can't put a 7 on an arrow. Because if you put a 7 on the arrow, in order to not make the circle a 9, which it cannot be, you're going to have to put a 1 with the 7. And you can't put a 1 here either because of the 1-9 pairs. So actually, in this puzzle, you can never put 8 or 7 in any of those squares. And yet we need to put 2 8s and 2 7s into the blue set, so we must allocate them to the circles. So those are, in some order, 7s and 8s. Right, okay, and let's think about what we've got left to place, because I think we can do better than this. We've still got to place 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s and 2 6s. Well, we can never pair the 6s with the 7s now, because we can never put a 1 on the arrow. So the 2 6s will have to go with the 8s wherever the 8s live, and therefore the 2 2s will have to go on those arrows as well, because 2 plus 6 equals 8. So we've got, and then we'll be left with 3s and 4s to put on the 7 arrows. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. So now what do we do? So now I approximately know how my blue arrows work, but I don't know what the order is of the 8s and the 7s. What's the thing that's going to tell me that? So the 8s, I've got 2 and 6 on them. Right, I know what it is. Okay, we can do better than this. So let's consider whether you can put adjacent, whether you can have an arrow circle here and an arrow circle here that both contain 8. And you can't. And this logic I'm about to show you will extend to any adjacent. If we try and put 8s in consecutive circles, imagine this is a clock, and this is sort of position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3, this is position 4. If we try and put 8s in positions 1 and 2, so next to each other on the clock, you'll always break a corner box, because let's imagine we try and put 8s in here. The problem is now that we've got to put 2 and 6s on these arrows, and now I've got to put 2s and 6s into the orange squares in box 1. And this would work the same if this was 8 over here. You've got to put the 2s and the 6s into the orange squares in box 3. And you can't, because 2 and 6 are not the same polarity. So we know whatever this is, these are all the same. They're either 6, 7, 8, 9, or they're 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 2 and 6 are different. So this will not work. So that tells us that, sorry, these are 7s and 8s. We don't know what the order is. We don't know what this is, but we do know that whatever this is the same as this, and whatever this is the same as this, and that gives us an excuse to do more colouring. So let us do that. These 2 digits are the same. These 2 digits are the same. This digit must be in one of those squares in box 5, and this digit must be in one of these cells in box 5. There, this is all getting a bit confusing now. Now, I'm now wondering whether we have to use the green lines in box 5. Can we somehow make an argument about those? It seems very difficult, to me at least, to imagine that this, if that's the yellow digit, then the purple digit is one of those 2 squares, and you can't put 7 or 8. Ah, no, that doesn't work. Right, here we go. Here is some sensible logic. Can this be yellow? And the answer is no. Because if that's yellow, let's just imagine this is purple. It doesn't matter which of these is purple. But the point now is to think about these German whisper lines. Now, each of these German whisper lines in isolation must contain at least 1 high digit, because you can't fill it with 3 low digits. That's nonsense if you're trying to make sure the digits are 5 apart. So that means, because there are 2 of these lines, each one of them must have 1 digit, 1 high digit on now, because 2 high digits have been hypothecated to the central column. That means if you're going to put 1 high digit on this line or one high digit on this line, that will have to be the central digit. Because if you try and put a high digit here, you're going to get a second high digit there and then not be able to put any high digits on the other line. So those two squares would have to be a 6-9 pair, and that's broken because whichever one is a 6 will have to have a 1 flanking it, and that on both sides, and that won't work. So this is presumably how we can argue that that digit there is not yellow. Therefore, yellow is on one of these German whispers lines. Therefore, what does that mean? That means one of these German whispers lines has 2 low digits flanking it. That does not seem very easy to actually... Is that supposed to mean something to me? If that's 7 or 8, these would be 2 low digits. Is there anything preventing this to be a high digit now? Because that would put 4 low digits in the corners. And then everything else would either... Well, the 5 would have to... The 5 is always in one of those squares. Let's not beat around the bush. The 5 is in one of these squares because it can't go on the whispers line. So is there anything that would stop this being a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple? And the answer is 3, 4 quadruple. I don't think there is, which is rather annoying. One of these is a 7 or an 8, but only one of them. So I mean, is there something that's going to force these two to have the same polarity? That's the thing I'm sort of wrestling with. And I don't actually... I'm not actually seeing how to do that, I'm afraid. Let me just think about this for a second or two. Whatever you put in here. Oh, okay. Does that matter? If you look at the colouring of the 7s and 8s, 2 different colours see every corner cell in box 5. So none of those cells can ever be 7 or 8. We knew that already. That's exactly... I mean, I've just proved something I've already proved. There's a 7 and 8 in purple, and I've proved there's a 7 and 8 in one of those squares. So proving the corners can't be 7 and 8 is a bit redundant, Simon. But is that a different way of thinking about the problem? I've got to put the high digits in here somewhere. The other thing I'm thinking is because these 2 digits have got to be the same, there's a pair in this column, and it's either a 3-4 pair. If these are 7s, this is a 3-4 pair, or if these are 8s, these 2 squares have got to be a 2-6 pair. So does that do something to the world? The answer to that is I don't know. If that's 7, this has to be a 1-2 pair. This would be 8. You'd have to put 7, 1, 2. You'd have to put 6 on this line. You couldn't put 6 in the middle, so that would determine the polarity of this line. 7, 1, 2, 6. Why can't I visualise this? Simon, use your brain. If this is 7, this is these are a 2-6 pair. This has got to be a 1-2 pair. That's fine. That's absolutely... Oh no, I see why it's... Ah, beautiful. Right. It's easy. It's easy once you have the right sequence of thoughts. Which I failed to do for about 10 minutes, but I've now had the right sequence of thoughts. You can't put 7 in either of these squares, and it's for a really beautiful reason once you see it. Let's try it. If this is 7, the point is that surrounding the 7 on the whispers line, you have to have one of these digits will have to be a 1, because it's going to have to be 5 away from 7, and the only available digits are 1 and 2. But the problem with this is that because we get 8s in these two squares, you've got to put 6 on this whispers line, because this is a 2-6 pair. And if you've got to put 6 on this whispers line, what digit has to be next to it? 1. But the 1 is needed on the other whispers line. And this logic is totally symmetrical. If you try and put the 7 on the other side instead, of course, we try and put it there, it just affects this one. So this has to be 8. We know these have to be the same, so we get a 2-6 pair. You've got to put 6 on this whispers line next to a 1, but there's a 1 on this whispers line. Nori nori. So this just doesn't work. This just doesn't work. So this tells us that actually this digit is 8. That's what it tells us. It tells us there's an 8 in one of these two squares. It tells us there's a 7 in these two squares. So purple is 7. There's a 7 in here. These two squares have now got to be a 3-4 pair. Which still means I've got to deal with 4 on the whispers lines now. So, yeah, right. So this is an 8-9 pair. This is really beautiful. Good grief. So yeah, let's just work through this slowly. There's a 4 in one of those two cells. So in the central box, there is a 4 on a whispers line. Now what we can never do is put 4 in the middle of a whispers line, because it'll have to be surrounded on both sides by 9. That repeats the 9 in the box. So where are we going to put our 4? And the point is we don't really care. It's got to go in one of these positions, where the digit next to it, which will be in one of those two positions, is a 9. So that goes with our 8 and gives us an 8-9 pair in the middle box, which tells us the polarity of both lines now. Both lines are high in the middle, so they're low on the edges. And therefore these squares are now a 5, 6, 7 triple by Sudoku. And in this column you can't put 8, 9 on an arrow, because the arrow is only adding up to 7. So there's an 8-9 pair in those two squares and a 1-2 pair in these two squares. So those digits are a 5-6 pair, and those digits are different as well. And this is a 3-4 and this is a 3-4. And it's going to be worth colouring these digits as well. We know they're different because the 1 and the 2 are different. So this is either a 1-6 or a 2-5, and this will be the opposite. But that matters, look, in terms of Sudoku, because whatever that digit is... I shouldn't have used red. Let's use green. I think I can get away with green. If this is green, and this is... oh dear... grey. Right, so this is green and this is grey. So where does green go in this box now? It's got to go there. So that's going to affect this digit. And where does grey go in this box? It's got to go there. And this is going to be why we've got these Kropki dots, look. So these are a 5-6 pair as well. This digit has got to be... this digit can't be 5 because it's on a whispers line, so that's going to be 4, 6 or 7. And the same is true for this digit, that's 4, 6 or 7. Hang on, but one of those is 6 and can't be next to 5. So one of these is 7. Oh, this is sick. Oh, good grief. Right. Right. We've done it. We've done it. We've done it. Because I think this is right. I think this is right. One of these digits, because these digits are different, the green and the grey, one of them is a 6, but they're both on white crocky dots whose adjacent digit is on a whispers line, so cannot be a 5. So one of these digits is a 7. One of these digits is a 7. I don't know which one, but I don't have to know which one, because whichever one is a 7 tells us the polarity of the box. Let's imagine it's this one. That tells us the polarity of this cell now. This must be the opposite to 7, so this would have to be the 1. And therefore, these squares have to be high digits. But by Sudoku, of course, this is an X-wing. These 1s and 9s operate like an X-wing. So once this is a 1, this is double 9, and this is a 1. So all these are high as well. So this is really beautiful setting, because of what this tells us is that because we know that one digit on one of these, because we know that one of these 8 digits is high, and we do now because one of those 2 digits is a 7, we know the whole polarity of the puzzle. So we know that, I don't know if that's the 7 yet, but I do know because one of these is a 7, all of these digits are high, all of these digits are high, so we can simply fill those in with 6, 7, 8, and 9. And therefore both of those digits are 1s, both of these digits are 9s. These digits have to be 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Those digits have to be 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. We can probably lose our colouring now of orange and... No, do we want to lose our colouring of... Oh, I tell you what I will do before I lose my colouring. I will remember to put the 2s and 6s next to the 8s. Yes, that gets me that... No, well, nearly. It removes 6 from this square. Yeah, okay, so now let's get rid of our orange colouring, and we can get rid of our blue colouring, and we can get rid of that colouring. We know those are the same because we can see they're the same now, and therefore we shouldn't need colours to remind us. We know though. Oh, do we know those are the same? Well, I'm going to leave that colouring in because that colouring is not obvious, and yet it is true. I'm going to leave this colouring in. I'm going to take out that colouring. So this is where we reach in the puzzle. What do we do now? We've got a 3-4 pair in this box, look, by Sudoku. So those 2 squares have got to be 2 and 5. So these 2 squares have got to be 6 and 8. So those 2 squares have got to be 5 and 7. So these 2 squares have got to be 3 and 4. Those 2 squares have got to be 2 and 5. Something symmetrical going on here, but I haven't quite worked out what it is. Those are 6 and 8. Those are 5 and 7. Wow, 5 and 7. Okay. Is that useful? Do I know what these digits are? The answer to that is I'm not sure that I do. Hang on, let me just take a look at this square. Can't be 8 or 9 because it's next to this digit. So there's a 5, 6, 7 triple in this row, which means that's not 6 or 7. Aha, and that's on a black dot. Aha, this black dot is the key. So look, we've got a 5, 6, 7 here. This square we know is high, and now you can't put 9 on the dot because that would have to be a 4.5. So that's 8. That's 4. These are not 4. These are not 8 anymore. 5, 6. This 8 tells us this is a 9. Oh, gorgeous. Now that's an 8. Oh. Oh, where does 8 go in this box now? It's got to go there, I think. So this square must be something useful. Oh, that's a 1 or a 2. This 8 gets us a 9 in the middle box, and that's an 8. Okay. Yes, okay, but this is symmetrical. These white dots are symmetrical. So that logic just works again in row 3. That square there can't be an 8 or a 9 either. So there's now another 5, 6, 7 triple, which is looking at this square. Oh, but we've not got a black dot here. Oh, maybe the Zegres didn't need it, because once you know this square's an 8, you get the 9 here already, just by Sudoku. So this square's got to be a low digit, and it can't be 3 or 4, so that's got to be 1 or 2. Oh, and 9 gets placed in box 2 as a result. How many 9s have we got? Lots, but not all of them. Although, hang on a moment. Yeah, look at where 9 goes in box 6. It can't go on this white dot because it would need to 8 next to it. So 9 has to go there, which means 9 is here. Which means 9 is here. 9s are now done, and we've got a 6, 7 pair in this column. So this is 8. This is 6. How many 8s are done? Lots, but not all of them. Okay, so there's something going on in box 3. And there's a 6, 7, 8 triple in column 7. But actually, it doesn't seem to be resolved, does it? I'm probably missing something here. It's probably Sudoku, isn't it? You'll have to bear with me while I try and work out the Sudoku that I need to now do in order to finish the puzzle. I've done... Oh, I tell you what I haven't done, and that's filled in these 8 arrows. And that's because apparently I can't. These aren't 2, 6, so these are either 1, 7 or 3, 5. 7, 3, 5. Yeah, okay, I can actually, can't I? Because 7 in this column is now on this arrow, so that's got to be 1, 7. This has got to be 3, 5. Which means this square is a 2, this square is a 5. Take 2's out of those and 3's, so these become a 1, 4 pair. That becomes a 2, 3 pair. Don't know if that's resolved by anything, can't quite tell. But can we do the same over here? Ah, maybe we can't because we don't know this digit. Oh, you rotten thing. You rotten thing. Right, okay, maybe we can't do the same with that digit then. So, how do we resolve this? I feel like we must be right on the cusp of finishing the puzzle. Oh, yeah, I know how we do it. Look, the 4 in the middle box is in one of those 2 cells. So the 4 in this box is in one of those 2 cells. Well, I can't double 4 this arrow, so that's a 4. And that doesn't... Maybe it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. I don't believe it. I've not done this white dot then. Maybe this white dot tells us the answers. So this is even. So this is an odd digit that's not 9. So it's got to be 1, 3, 5 or 7. Ah, okay, well this is not 2. Because there's going to be far too many low digits in this string. If this is a 2, every single one of those digits has to be selected from 1, 2 and 3, and there are 4 cells. So you'll have to repeat a digit. So that's a 6. And that's a 5. Oh, that's right. 5? Why do I think that's a 5? I was just thinking 6 plus 5 is not... No, that's not a 5, it's a 2. Oh, that gets me a 2 and a 6 over here, though. So 2 can come out of these cells. And this square has to be 5 or 7. And that is beautiful because... I've got no idea. Oh, no, it is actually beautiful. I've got a 6, 7, 8 triple in this column. So that can't be 7. That is 5. So that... Oh, this square is forced to be 7. That's 5. That's 6 by Sudoku. That's 5. That's 3 by Sudoku. This row needs... Oh, lovely. Now I've finally proved this is a 1, 7 pair. I suppose I got that once I got this as a 5. But that's quite cool. So this square is a 3 in the corner. And I know it's not in the corner of the puzzle, so it doesn't get a song. That's a 1-4 pair, so this is a 2-3 pair. I should be able to do the 7 and the 1, and I can. The 5 gets me the 5 and the 2 up at the top. Look, that's no longer a 7. Now this should be good, doesn't it? These squares can't be 1 and 3, so this is 2 and 4, so this is 1 and 3. How does this all unwind itself? Oh, I know what it might be. Yes, I can't put 4 next to 8 on a German whisper, so once this gets reduced to 1 or 4, it must be a 1. And the 4 can go next to the 9, which works nicely, so that's 1, that's 7. The 2 and the 3, I think, are ambiguous. But that 1 gets me a 2 up here. Oh, lovely, and that gets me a 1 and a 6 at the top, which gets me an 8 over there, a 7 here, a 6 here, so that places the 5. The 2 and the 1 get resolved down here. This is now a 5, which we could have got from our colouring, actually, couldn't we? So I should probably retain an interest in my colouring, because it is useful. It would be useful if I focused on it. Look, all of this is just getting filled in. I'm not having to do any thinking. These are the sorts of Sudokus. Well, this is the stage of Sudoku that I feel more comfortable. Just don't make me think. 3 and 2 over here. Can I do the 5 and the 7? Yes, I can. So it's just whether we can unwind the middle columns. We must be able to. Yeah, that's 2, that's 3, that's 3, that's 4. That's 3, that's 4, and that is the puzzle. Yes! That is magnificent. Good grief. And by the way, when I say that's magnificent, I don't mean my soul fit. I mean Zegres's absolute genius in setting that. That's such quality. There are so many ideas in this. There really are. Whether it's even the starting idea, which is that an X-shaped German whisper has an interesting restriction, is worthy of note. But then to combine that with the sort of the middle version of the Phistomefel ring in a way where the arrows, you could force the 8s and 7s into the circles. That's so clever. And then we knew the sort of digits that had to go on each arrow. And that was important, because if I hadn't been able to deduce that, I wouldn't have been able to work out that neither of those digits could be a 7 because of these strings in the middle box. That's just a top quality puzzle. It really is. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you managed to solve it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.